Do not confuse this with treatment or mental health advice or direction. Nothing on this podcast is made to supplement or supersede the relationship and direction of your mental health caretakers. Although David Kozlowski is a licensed marriage and family therapist, he is not functioning as a certified mental health professional in this environment. And same applies to any professional who may appear on the OG Therapy podcast. Welcome to the OG Therapy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of OG Therapy, and today I need therapy. That's right, coming to you guys to share what my struggle is currently, what I'm grappling with, and then I'm hoping as I'm saying this out loud that my mind will remind me of the things that I coach my clients and I therapize and give people suggestions on, because I know there's some things I should be doing and could be doing. But have you ever just kind of wanted to be mad and angry? Have you ever not wanted to let go of something that you know you should let go of? I remember a long time ago, someone shared with me that there's two different types of sins, sin of commission and sin of omission. And sometimes a sin of omission, not doing something that you should do or not letting go of something you should do. I feel like I'm kind of in that category right now a little bit, at least in the past 24 hours or a couple weeks. So here's my asking you guys to give me some OG therapy. So I don't know when you guys will be listening to this, because most of my episodes, they have a long shelf life. But I'm recording this on September 29th. And on the day before I'm recording this, I woke up in the morning to find out that there was a shooting at a church in Michigan, at a Mormon church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And a few weeks prior to that, there was a shooting at a Catholic school. But while the kids were during Mass, while they're at Mass and they're praying, there's a shooting. So even though it wasn't on a Sunday at a church, it was at like a church while kids were praying. And like I'm assuming most of you that have heard those stories, and I know there's been some other stories in the past couple of months as well. I don't want to neglect those, but these are the most recent ones that I'm familiar with. These stories, I think because it involves kids, well, all these stories are horrible, but when it involves kids, especially kids in church or kids praying, and they're hurt, killed, and even all the kids who weren't hurt or killed but are traumatized because of the event, oh man, it just shakes me. And I have a lot of anxiety right now because of it. I've a bunch of mixed feelings, anger, sadness, frustration, all the things that I'd expect most people would have, even though I wasn't there at any of those events. When you have kids, the first thing your brain does, and by the way, this is a good thing that our brain does this, it puts yourself, what if that was your kid? Or what if you were there when that happened? What would you do? How would that affect you? And usually the answers that come back when you start doing this thought experiment are usually the worst case scenario. Like you start envisioning yourself, maybe wanting to hurt the person who hurt your kids. Or you might envision yourself being completely just wrecked and traumatized for the rest of your life because of it, and how it could affect your life and the lives of people in your community. All those thoughts and feelings, have been going through my mind, and I know they've been going through a lot of other people's minds. And it's really hard to shake it. So that's what I want to talk about today. Is I've been noticing, in my last episode talked about this a little bit, but I've been noticing lately for myself that the more just violence and the more stuff that I'm seeing online becomes more prevalent and is happening more consistently, it's hard to think about other things. It's hard to put those things aside, and it's hard to have hope for humanity sometimes. It's hard not to be nihilistic or pessimistic, all the istics, right? It's hard not to just look at our world as one big conundrum and just one big hot mess, and how everything in our world is falling apart. And regardless of what side of a political or religious or ideological side that you're on, it's it's hard not to think about those things on a loop inside of your mind. And then it's also hard to be thinking about those things and go to your work and give the best of your time and energy to your job, or spend time around your kids and give the best of energy to your kids. It's really difficult not to get lost in the drama sauce or the combative energy and the anxiety and just that frequency of uncertainty and potential violence. It triggers a lot of that fight or flight inside of us. And our brains are hardwired to prioritize fight or flight and our self preservation above anything else. So if we're looking at something online, and that thing online that we're looking at is something that we can empathize with, connect with, put ourselves in those shoes of the people going through that. Like I said, it doesn't matter what, if it's something you feel someone deserved or something that they didn't deserve. It's just a natural thing that most human beings do. And I know for myself, and I hope I'm not the only one that struggles with this. I know for myself recently, it's harder to shake it. And even my wife was telling me the other day, she's like, she knows that if I'm being sensitive and I'm worked up about something, she knows now after 19 years of marriage, she's got to, you know, I don't want to say cautious, but have a sense of care when she just says advice to me, right? Because early on in her marriage, she'd be like, just get off your phone. Stop looking at that stuff. That stuff's stupid. It's not going to help you anyways. And then I'd become defensive. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is personal to me. For whatever reason, it was personal. So my wife said something to me yesterday that actually really helped me out a lot. And she actually I think she's been listening to me. I don't know if she's been listening to my podcast, but she must be paying attention to me because she did some stuff that I was like, touche, good job. She really, did something that I was like, she's right. I needed that. And so what she said, I'm not saying the exact words that she said. She listened to me complain and just share that I was angry. I was frustrated. I was like, why is this happening? Like, this is so messed up. It's like just freaking kids and at church of all places. Come on, man. Even if you're atheist, if you don't, like someone else's religion, you don't go shoot up a mosque. You don't go shoot up a Catholic Mormon church. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, there should be like hallowed grounds. Like, even in war, they have rules of engagement, right? That's why terrorists, they don't act by the same rules of engagement. They do whatever they want. And so as I'm talking to my wife and venting, and she validated a bunch of my thoughts and feelings, she said something along the lines of, it's like, hey, I'm not telling you don't pay attention to this stuff, because she goes, I know that I believe, she's talking to me, she goes, I know you believe that by knowing about what's going on, you're protecting our family, because my job as the father is, my main job is to provide protection, provide the essential needs for my family, put a roof over their head, protect them physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so she said, I know that's your job, and I know you take that serious. She said, however, it's Sunday and we want to spend some family time and just have dinner and maybe watch a movie a little bit earlier, because we always fall asleep watching movies. And I said, yeah, I want to do those things too. And she said, I'm not saying don't care about those things, but those things you literally have no control over. But I know you. And she said, if you don't spend time with us right now, and if we don't take a time out of all that drama and all that horrible tragedy, and if we don't hang out together as a family, you're going to feel guilty later on at the end of the week that you were so caught up in this and so worked up, because work starts on Monday, that from Monday through Friday, it felt like that you weren't being there for our kids and you didn't spend good family time with us. And the reason why she said that to me is because I look around at our life and I realize I made a lot of sacrifices to build really strong, just good kids. And a lot of those sacrifices was money and the time that we spend with our kids and the work we put in to help our kids become the type of human beings that we feel that the world would benefit from having them as people. And then the feedback we get from their teachers and other adults and their friends and kids, we are so proud of our kids. And my son yesterday, he saw me, I was really stressed out. And he said, Dad, I love you. And I go, I love you too, son. And then next time I saw him, he goes, Dad, I love you. I go, love you too, son. By the seventh time throughout the day, I realized okay, why is he telling me he loves me so much? And I said, son, like, I appreciate you telling me you love me so much. I go, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I go, you tell me you love me a lot more than normal. And I'd like to know, why is that? And he just simply said, he goes, Dad, I'm worried about you, Dad. You've been really stressed out a lot lately because I know you're trying to help people and I know you want to help everybody, but I just want you to know that you're a great dad and I love you. So I said, all right, what movie do you guys want to watch? They picked the live action How to Train Your Dragon. So I said, let's go. We got it together. And I said, let's just sit down and have a little family time. We watched the movie together and I just felt a lot better. So I guess this is a very interesting segue. And I knew I'd remember some things I've taught my clients in the past as I'm talking about this. This is what I call my low confession session. And as I'm saying this out loud, I do realize and remember a couple of things I usually tell people to do. And my wife kind of did it unknowingly, but I think she had the right instincts. Is certain threats to your life are threats right next door to you, like right in your face. Someone threatening your kid's safety. Other threats are greater threats in the world and a greater extension how you could see that affect you. But those threats, they're a few steps away from you. And what I've told my clients in the past, and I need to take some of my own advice, is that when things are out of control and chaotic in the world, that's very complex. And the solution to start with is simple little solutions in your own small world. Watching a movie with your kids, putting down your phone to do something else. In fact, before I watch the movie with my kids, my poor wife, she's really stressed right now because her dad's going through some very serious health problems. And she saw my stress, and I saw that my stress was making her stress worse. So I took her advice before we watched the movie with the kids. I said, hey, honey, got a bad headache. Let me rub your neck. Let me rub your shoulders, which I did. And we put on a funny comedy stand-up special. Nate Bargatze, I don't know if you've ever heard of Nate Bargatze, but she's like, no hardcore, like gnarly F-bomb type comedy type stand-up special. So something just kind of light humor and just easy and just really just not to rock her boat too much. Nate Bargatze hit the nail right on the head. And then after that, I was like, I was in a more relaxed mood. I'm like, let's go have some time with our kids. And I'm so glad. I want to thank my wife for doing that because today I'm starting off Monday with anxiety and all the same feelings I had yesterday and all the same worries. And I did look at, some stuff online about like the updates of the shooting and stuff. But what I noticed is it took away probably about, half of my anxiety, half of my worry, and made it more palatable so I could take that anxiety, take that worry, and I could do something with it. And that's kind of the point that I tell my clients. I said, if your goal is to make your problems go away, then you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You're going to be pounding your head up against the desk or the wall saying, why won't these frustrations go away? It's because it's not realistic. But if your goal is, you know what, I just need to put my frustrations and worries away in a nice little cubby hole for a little bit while I go attend to the things that I do have control over and the things that I can help and I can see progress in. For me, yesterday it was my kids. For other people, with my clients, and sometimes my clients are the ones that give me these things and tell me, hey, this is what I've done. I go, interesting. So I take note of it and I go give it to other clients. And one of those things, are as cheesy as it may sound, is to do something for someone else that's in a pinch. Some people call it service. Some people call it just being a good neighbor, taking someone's trash out for them when maybe they forgot before the trash man comes. Other people might be, hey, I'm worried about my friend who's going through a divorce. And so I'm going to reach out to them, which I also did yesterday. And as soon as I reached out to my friend going through a divorce, as soon as I watched that comedy special and I gave service to my wife because I was thinking about my stuff. My wife all throughout the day kept on saying how her headache hasn't gone away for the past couple of days. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that's because it's not just a normal headache. It's a stress headache about your dad and this and that and the other. but I kept on going back to YouTube. I kept on going back to the videos that I was watching, and I didn't even realize that I could help my wife right then. So when I gave my wife that neck and shoulder massage, and we watched that comedy show together, she was lightened by it. She was thanking me for helping her with her headache. And something in my reptilian man cave brain was like, huh? You good? You can create solutions, not just problems. You're not just having to worry. You can actually be proactive about something. And it was funny to me because I know this, I teach people this, but for some reason, I forgot when I stressed and worried about these things I have no control over that I can control one thing: what I do for other people, my goodwill, my service, my acts of kindness, my reaching out to my friend who's I found out from someone else he's going through a divorce. And I was like, wondering why this fool hasn't been calling me back lately. Well, now I know, because all my friends know if they're going through something like a divorce. And if I talk to them, they're going to have to talk about it. And most of my typical dude friends, they're trying to avoid talking to me. But when I get them cornered, then they're crying, then they're thanking me. I had a deep conversation on Friday with my mechanic. You know, he's going through a horrible, tough time in his life. Lost his mother just tragically, had a stroke and died. And I remember having that conversation with him. I'm working with him, and you know, I take it over to his house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he fixed it real quick, and I can go ahead and take off and leave. And I was about to leave, I stopped, and something in my mind said, no, you should ask him about his mom that just passed. Sure enough, as soon as I asked him about him, like a typical guy, he's like, oh, I'm fine. And I said, dude, okay, here's something I found out about older dudes. We don't talk about crap. And I just totally just went at him about, I didn't basically say, you're going to talk to me about this. I said, this is the problem with men like us. We say we're fine when we're not fine. And so finally he was like, well, I have been kind of paranoid and freaked out and freezing in the middle of work, and I don't know why I can't move. And like, he's like, what does it say? Well, that's called grief. And we went over it. Next thing you know, he and I are both tearing up, and he's saying all these things that he hadn't talked to. And when we ended the conversation, yeah, we talked for 45 minutes, almost an hour. But when it was done, he felt lighter and he felt better. And I felt like I had control of something in my life. The confidence that you get, the confidence that I get, can come from different places. Sometimes it comes from just controlling our impulses. If we have an addiction, or if we have some sort of vices, and if we don't do our vices that day, then we're more self-confident. Other times, confidence comes from us just doing hard, difficult things that we don't want to do. But sometimes our confidence comes from wanting to be angry at the world, wanting to get online, wanting to fight and argue with people about their opinions online, and we don't press send. We pull back and we think, in all the time it's taken me right now, and I'm just using a random example, to contend with someone online, to come up with a comment, a reaction to their stupid reaction to my reaction, all that time that we were doing that, imagine if we took that same energy in those few minutes and we started to put that out towards people in our life who are not involved in online drama, who are not involved in the problems out in our society and the government or whatever it may be, who are just people who are going through it right now, and they could use a tender mercy. They could use a vote of confidence. They could use an attaboy, an attagirl, or just someone reaching out to them, telling them they're thinking about them. So that's my takeaway from this episode of you guys giving me OG therapy. And the takeaway is, when you feel like you've lost control of everything, there's one thing you can control, is where you put your energy, where you put your time. And the way to combat hate, anger, excessive pride, pettiness, people provoking you and trying to get your goat, you can take that time and that energy and you can point it in a totally different direction, in the benefit of your family members, your friends, people in your community. And even if it's through online, but we can choose and control where we put our energy. And as we do that, does our anxiety and does our problem and stresses completely go away? Probably not. But we do give ourselves something in return: fortitude, resilience, self-confidence. And we just remind ourselves who we really are as our core. The most childlike version of all of us is pretty loving. is pretty tender, is pretty kind, and serviceable. As we get older, as we get twisted and tied up in knots and life gets complicated, we sometimes can be very self-centered. And sometimes we forget what the real end game is. And the real end game, in my opinion, we win if our loved ones and our family members, our friends around us are also winning. And if any of them aren't winning in life, if they're struggling, then yeah, we may be doing good in our life, but we're not really winning unless the whole team wins. Well, as always, you guys, thanks for listening to the podcast here at OG Therapy. Follow us on all podcasts, or you can listen to us on all podcast platforms. You can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. And also, please give a follow to the Social Health Initiative. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone that lives in the Utah County area on October 17th. We're having the very first Social Health Games, aka Social Health Community event, where you get to see social health in real life. That is going to be on October 17th at the Pickler, Lehigh/Saratoga Springs. It's very confusing. It's two cities, but one all at the same time. Lehigh Pickler, that's Pickler, Pickler, not the ER, Pickler, on October 17th from noon to 5. Please come out. It's a free event for families. We have a bunch of companies competing inside in a pickleball, cornhole, and golf simulator tournament, but outside in the back, skate parks, bounce houses, drift carts, RC car racing, lots of fun activities. Home Depot is putting on a little activation booth where they're going to be teaching kids how to build stuff, and plenty more games and fun to keep your kids entertained, but most importantly, so that we can be socially healthy and just all be cool. So until next time, my reminder to each and every one of you, no matter how bad the drama, the stresses, and family, friends at work, do your best to just be cool.